as you were approaching your exit, did you know what your next steps were going to be?
So we knew that we planned to exit the company. So we had negotiated a 6-month runway. And then we did not know exactly what we were going to do, but we knew that we were going to aim to find a way, like Nick said, to help people at scale with personal development. But we certainly didn't know we were going to write 2 books.
We wanted to find a way to help people, and we had to validate our names in the space so people would trust that, and had to be seen more as a thought leader in this space, knowing that we had the experiences to back up what we're ultimately trying to deliver. And to us, books are really the perfect way to do that.
Welcome to Season 3 of Beyond the Business Plan, the podcast for burned out professionals and entrepreneurs who know there's more to life than just hitting the next revenue goal. I'm Leanne Lyon, founder and chief joy officer of joyminder.com. I'm a private money broker and creator of the Sailing System, SAILING system, for designing a business and life you actually love. Each week this season, I'll be talking with guests and sharing stories about what happens after the business plan works. Money, real estate, legacy, faith, and whole person success. If you're ready to join the Sail Setters and chart your own course beyond burnout, hit that follow or subscribe so you catch every episode. My guests today, yes, there are 2 of them, are living proof that your career can take some unexpected and inspiring turns. Together, they went from teaching and programming to running a software company, selling it, and writing award-winning leadership books. They help each other treat themselves as their most important project and turn life's lessons into real results. Who is this dynamic duo joining me? It's Marnie Stockman and Nick Coniglio. Marnie and Nick, are you there?
Hello.
We are here. Great to be here, Leanne.
I am so excited to have you here. When I met both of you, at first we didn't really know it was 2. And then I'm like, oh, this will be fun. This will be a challenge. So for a listening audience, especially those not on YouTube, well, come over to YouTube so you can see us. You'll be able to tell who's talking. But I will do as, a little bit of bouncing back and forth, although their voices are fairly distinctive, and maybe by now you've figured mine out. I don't know. So here we are. Marnie, why don't you give a little bit of an introduction of yourself?
Sure. I'm Marnie. I was the teacher in the description. So started out as a high school math teacher, and then landed in an edtech company where I met Nick. There I ran customer success. He ran customer support and many other technical pieces of it. And that company grew. So we worked with that company through 3 acquisitions. And in that third one, we were then working for the largest ed tech company in the world, and it did not feel like a good culture fit for us. So I'm going to stop there and let Nick join in and tell his part of the story and how we got to here. How's that?
Perfect.
Awesome. Well, great to be here, Leanne. Thanks. Again, my name is Nick Coniglio, and I am, as you would guess, the programmer of the 2 of us. I've been, unlike Marnie, who's been in education, I've been really with technology startups almost my entire career. I've made a habit and was very fortunate to be employee number single digit in 4 different startups. And I've seen all of them grow and experience tremendous success. But yeah, I think the third one was that ed tech company that Marty mentioned. That's where we started working together, started realizing that we had very much the same philosophy on how to grow teams, how to grow people. And that's kind of where we kind of took off and phased whatever of our career happened, and everything that you said, but that we'll be happy to discuss today about starting a company, writing books. It's been a fun and wild ride for sure.
And just to be clear for our listening audience, again, this is the first time I've had 2 guests at once. I'm just going to get this awkward question out of the way. Are you a couple? You're not. I know you're not because you live in two different states.
Correct. I'm in Maryland. Nick's in Georgia.
I'm in Georgia. Yeah.
Yeah.
Business partners for a while, but that's about as far as it goes with that.
That's where you leave it. That's good. But do you run into that occasionally where people assume because you're business partners, you work together, that there is more to it?
Well, it's typically we end up at a lot of conferences together. So when we're out to dinner, they assume for sure.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well,
A little awkward.
Yeah.
But it is what it is.
And so we'll move on.
Yes.
I typically say yes, we're married, but not to each other. And then we're like, oh, well, right, it's awkward right back at me. Thanks.
Actually, that is brilliant. I do love that. Yes, definitely. So how long then have you been business partners together?
Oh, so when did we start? 2018? Is that right?
Yeah. We've been working together since 2013. And I think we officially started up the LLC in 2018. Really, before we had an idea about a business, we knew that we wanted to start something. We just have very complementary skill sets. Got our respective spouses and families on board, and yeah, so it's been about 7 years now. Goodness.
Well, it's fun here for me is that I call myself a recovering 7th grade math teacher, like Carrie, and I have a computer science minor. So I've been
combo platter. You speak both of our languages.
So yeah, I'm the combination of both of you, except not. So you've been both. Well, when you were working at the edtech company, and both of you were W-2 employees at that point.
Yes, we were full-time employees at that point.
Full-time employees.
Yeah.
And at what point did you make the jump, either together or individually, into entrepreneurship where you're paying your own paycheck?
Yeah.
So I made the jump a little quicker than Marnie did. So we had gotten to the point where I think there was a clash of our core values and the culture, how it played out. We were both responsible for the customer experience, Marnie through customer success, myself through customer support. And we were really told that the company that we worked for, their core value was raving fans. And at the same time, they kind of did everything possible to reduce our burden, our ability to create raving fans by cutting our staff and cutting our resources and everything like that. So there was an opportunity for me to exit that company, which I did. At that point, Marnie and I had been talking about how to take our framework and our philosophy somewhere else. And it took a little bit for Marnie to get out from underneath it because she went to another company. But we ultimately got there, and we found the right opportunity in a space that was completely different of all things. It wasn't anything that we'd ever done before. So it's been...
Marnie, how was that? Oh, I'm sorry. But Marnie, how was that transition for you?
So I knew when Nick said we should start a company to see if we can start a company, I was all in, but I also was all in with 2 kids at college age. So I still needed a paycheck. So I did have to leave that company. And to be honest, I left it by calling a former boss and saying, I need you or one of your friends to hire me like next week because I can't stay here. So he did. Like 2 weeks later, I was working for them, but immediately was still working with Nick to find something and build something, grow something. So I knew then that, so I worked 2 jobs at once, which I've frankly done since I was 14. So it's really no different for me. Just a little bit of hustle, right? It is what it took. So, but then so I was working for the other company when we went to our first conference, when we had the company, ready to launch the company. And the feedback we got from that was, so no big sales, right? You go in thinking, oh, we're going to sell 1,000 bits or whatever. But it was very positive in terms of the feedback that we got. So, I mean, the plan was never to not do that. I had decided I was leaving the company on April Fool's Day because that's a good day to leave a company. So we just marched toward that. And so, I mean, it was just the plan. Like I wasn't, Nick will tell you if otherwise, but I don't think I was particularly stressed about it. I was just working 2 jobs because that's what I need to do. We're going to get there. We're just going to do the work.
Nick, will you tell me otherwise?
No, she wasn't the one who was stressed. I was the one without a job. Yeah, I was the stressed one for sure. But no, we kind of knew that we can figure out a way to make things work, and whatever got in our way, and a lot did, including COVID. We knew we would find a way around it, and that's kind of exactly what we did, with a lot of help. I mean, our first set of customers helped us tremendously. We worked with good people, and it all worked out. And we're, a lot of hard work, but a lot of fortune comes along with that. And we're very fortunate to have all the things fall into place.
Oh, you just semi-quoted the Ted Lasso line. The harder you work, the luckier you get.
Perfect. And that was the software company that you launched together. Am I correct?
Yeah.
Okay.
That is.
And that was the first.
Yeah, Marnie should tell the story on how we came up with how we fell into that, because I think that's a funny story.
Yeah. So I had played volleyball with somebody for 20 years. He knew I was in education, so he thought I was a teacher. And I knew he was in IT. So I literally knew he was like an IT guy. I thought that was maybe the technical term for that. And literally from opposite sides of the volleyball net, like, oh, hey, do you have any problems in your space? We're doing, we're looking for, to build software. Nick's specialty is in data analytics, reporting, assessment. That's the type of platform we worked on. And he said, yeah, in the MSP space. Now, I thought MSP meant Maryland State Police, but it meant managed service provider, which is what IT business owners are called. Now I know. He Shark Tank pitched us. He said, can you get Nick on a call? And we spent an hour that first day of him presenting what the heck an MSP was, and then gave us so many acronyms. I mean, I had the entire alphabet on the page multiple times in random orders of acronyms that he taught us about the space. And then Nick and I hopped off the call and took a week or two to do some due diligence to see if there was an opportunity there. And we said, yeah. So we decided that was the company we were going to start. We're going to build a reporting platform, a quarterly business reporting platform, customer success platform for IT business owners.
Very cool. Love it. Playing volleyball leads to business opportunity. Fun fact, MSP is also Minneapolis, St. Paul. And
we would have guessed that second, right beyond Baron.
Sleeping on the list before I picked a managed service provider as words to throw out. Yeah.
Yep. And then a group that I worked with as a advisor, we had an MSP, which is Member Success Program.
Oh.
So MSP, it's all over the place.
It's a reporting platform. We probably didn't build the one for them.
Probably not. So you built it out. Was he your first customer?
So he became one of our partners. And then we recruited someone else on the development side, on the technical side, a chief architect.
But he was our first customer. His company was the one who kind of fed us all the requirements, and we built it to his use cases, and then we gradually expanded as we became more and more familiar with the space. We had a pretty unique advantage because we had been doing customer success in a completely different industry, and this IT industry really, they were all about techno wizardry, right?
Capacitors,
flux capacitors and such. So they didn't know that, they didn't have the tools and the practices around normal customer management and success management, and we brought that skill set and that knowledge to really an entire industry, which we didn't even know existed a year prior, but which we have since found out is one of the largest industries out there. Hundreds of thousands of companies do this. So it was a crazy thing we fell into.
Isn't that amazing? Truly. When people say I want to go into business, but they often see a very limited scope as to what that could mean. And I'm happy to help people. Burned out professionals is kind of my jam. Burned out teachers, burned out people. And you say, what is on your heart? What do you love to do? What brings you joy? And that's the name of my company, Joyminder.
Yeah.
What brings you joy? And then help them. But even so, I start with kind of a limited number. If they don't have something that they're like coming to me saying, I want to do this, then, I explore kind of a limited, more traditional, like, well, do you like to look at houses? We can look at real estate. Do you like to travel? We can look at travel agent, just to get them in the mindset of what it takes to actually run a business, on their own and from home. Very different. But once you really start to explore, I have clients that have very unique businesses, and there's millions of potential buyers for their product or service. It's amazing.
Yeah. It's, we always say how you do anything is how you do everything. So what's interesting is I look back, and it's really how we got to write Lead It Like Lasso, is we looked back at what had made us successful with Nick coding, with me in a classroom, with us, and I had several education roles along the way, and then in the software company. And so for me, I know it's the teaching component that is a strength. So when I would go to the MSP space and I would present a lot, and it's typically me standing in front of 250 men who are IT business owners. And I would say I started out as a high school math teacher. So you're probably wondering why you're listening to me. And I'd say, but I sold pre-calculus to 16-year-olds.
Yeah.
And they're like, yeah, she can sell pre-calc. She can probably sell anything. So maybe this does have something for us to listen to. And she's a little scary, so she might assign attention. So sit up and let's get going, But I think that if you can find out who you are at the core, like together, Nick and I love problem solving. We like a good challenge, etc. And we can take that lots of different places. And so I'm sure that that's exactly what you're working with your clients, to find out who you are at the core, because that translates into a lot of different job jobs, right? And that is when we wrote The Business of You, that is what we're doing for high school and college students, is helping them figure that out.
And that was your first book.
So Lead It Like Lasso was our first book.
Okay.
The Business of You is the one that we released just this August. Okay. That is, we're finding a lot of school systems are saying this is where career prep is broken, is because students don't know who they are, how to tell their story. But even if they're plotting the right path, they're just plodding along that path. They're not owning that path. And then they don't know how to tell their story in a way that'll connect the job with their life, really.
Love it. We're going to take a break, and we're going to dig into that transition between software and leadership book writing. Hey, sales setters, want to navigate your success with ease? Download the Sailing System, your practical guide to charting a course, setting goals, and growing with purpose. Find it now at joyminder.com or check the show notes below for your roadmap to results. And we are back here with Marnie Stockman and Nick Coniglio. We are talking about their transition from working as, for other people, to becoming entrepreneurs, to starting a software company. And then they eventually sold that and went into other things. So we're going to get into that the second half of today on Beyond the Business Plan. I have a question about the software company. When you started it, or when you realized what you were going to start and built it, did you start right away with an exit plan?
I would say yes. I think, and it got revised and changed a couple of times for sure, but we definitely had a time horizon, because we knew, we were talking earlier about, you were talking about people finding their passion. And we knew even before we started that company that what we truly wanted to do was to help people at scale in some way with their own personal development. That was what kind of drove us, from Marnie as an educator, from me building teams. We just weren't confident that we knew how to build a business to do, just the mechanics around building a business. So that's what we were really proving out in terms of the IT industry business that we had. So yeah, we said we want to exit within 3 to 5 years, and we want to exit for this much. And we exited in just a little over 3 years, Marnie, I think, and we exited for this much plus some more. So it really worked out for us.
Bonus.
Yeah.
And as you were approaching your exit, did you know what your next steps were going to be?
So we knew that we planned to exit the company. So we had negotiated a 6-month runway. And then we did not know exactly what we were going to do, but we knew that we were going to aim to find a way, like Nick said, to help people at scale with personal development. But we certainly didn't know we were going to write 2 books. And we knew we would build an app, but we didn't know what kind. Is that fair, Nick?
Yeah, I think the app was always in the back of our mind. We didn't know exactly what it would look like. We knew we wanted to find a way to help people. And we're working on that app now, just in case that's new and different, because we haven't really talked about that. But there's a logical stepping stone. We really had to validate our names in the space so people would trust that, and had to be seen more as a thought leader in the space, knowing that we had the experiences to back up what we're ultimately trying to deliver. And to us, books are really the perfect way to do that. And to our surprise, our first book, Lead It Like Lasso, relating it to a television show, was such a unique and novel idea that it really got us a lot of attention. I think much more so than if the second book that we ended up writing would have been our first book. I don't think we would have had the same amount of success.
Did you do any particular marketing, or do you have any secret to share with that aspiring author out there with their first book on the horizon?
Well, I mean, we aim to be here, there, and everywhere. So we've won several book awards, which definitely gives some exposure. Podcasts, obviously, are a good way to do it. And really just have to put yourself out there, is the best I got. Nick, what other advice do we have for folks?
Well, lots of advice in terms of writing books, because it's very hard. And if you think you're going to be able to create a living and be able to support yourself in terms of writing a book, it doesn't happen.
Yeah.
Doesn't happen. You have to, I don't want to say a lead magnet, but it's a lead for sure into something bigger and better. So from the book, we got a lot of speaking engagements. We've gotten a ton of connections, and we've built a fairly large community that then we can leverage because they trust us. We actively engage with them, which is a recommendation. If anybody's writing a book, you got to actively engage with your audience, 100%. I think that is probably the biggest thing that, Marnie, would you disagree that you would take away from that?
Oh, no, absolutely. It is the connection piece that's true everywhere. So, and it's definitely true for a book, which I think authors often mistakenly think that they're done when they've written the book. And that is just the beginning. Even if you get a big name publisher, you have to do all the marketing yourself. So you need to have the community.
So how do you engage with your audience in that case?
Well, it depends on the various platforms, but for example, on Facebook, there are 99.8 thousand people in the Ted Lasso fan community. So we have a podcast around, like a rewatch podcast, where we go through every episode of Ted Lasso, but we also go through each one with the lens of leadership. So we're always speaking to that, right? So that is one way with the Ted Lasso community. With the business of you, it is engaging educators on LinkedIn or any social media. We're on all of them. But to just engage with them, go to conferences, speak on podcasts, and, give our take. And it's not always our take, right? We always say we're leadership geeks, not gurus. So we love to share what we've learned. We don't think we have all of the answers. So just talking about what we've learned really helps folks. That is the first pilot that we got for the business of you, was somebody that saw that we were doing a webinar and thought, oh, I'm in charge of college and career prep in my school system. Our kids need this. Can we bring your book in and do lessons with the book? It's just, you've just got to find them where they are and help them connect in any way you can and provide value, however that may be.
Beautiful. That is such good advice from both of you right there. First of all, your book is probably not going to sustain your lifestyle or improve your lifestyle significantly. There are, of course, authors that sell millions of copies of books, but in fact, one of my favorite books I've been reading is called The Bait of Satan. Interesting. 6 million copies sold in 30 years. It's taken 30 years to get to 6 million copies. And I mean, it is a bestseller.
And if they went through a major publisher, they're making 80 cents a book.
Yeah.
Just remember that.
80 cents a book. So you have to sell a ton of them in order to impact your lifestyle truly. But as you're saying, Marnie, the real impact is when you can get to the conferences, get on stages, and reach out to the audience to interact. So that's beautiful. Thank you for sharing that. So when you talked earlier about reaching, many people, was writing a book kind of your shot at doing that? Was that kind of your intention, is to reach more people with the book? Because you're not going to get rich off it. We've already established that.
Yeah, I think so. I think that was part of it. I think part of it was we went on so many business trips together that we would walk by an airport bookstore and say, man, wouldn't it be cool if we were in that airport bookstore? But no, seriously, that was part of our motivation. But the ability to reach people, the book, absolutely. I think that was one of our tools for that. It was also very much a tool for establishing credibility, in which is critically important, and getting more exposure. I think the weird thing about the authoring a book is you don't know who reads it. You don't get a customer list, so you don't know who is familiar with you as a person, with your work in writing and books, and it never amazes us. It never ceases to amaze us when people just out of the blue reach out to us, from all across the world. Literally, we've jumped on phone conversations with people in Germany, in Scotland and Ireland, obviously in Canada, the United States, all across the world. And it's fascinating to us that okay, these people are familiar with who we are. And there are ways to do it, like podcasts, of course, and we've gone down that road. But the notion that we authored a book, people, they think it's really hard. And I'm not saying it's easy, but it kind of gives you a little bit of leg up, and people probably give us more respect from that regard than we actually
let the secret out.
Yeah, but it's been really helpful for us in terms of gaining the exposure, exactly like you asked, Leanne.
Yeah, and to that point, podcasting is the same way. Greg Wasserman, who is the head of relationships for RSS.com, that was a very fun episode, by the way, if you ever want to go listen to a great one. He said, look, every business owner needs to have a podcast, because it is just an amazing way to establish credibility and authority, and in some cases to build your own client list, really. Yep. So you're not making money from the book. I mean, you make some, but that's not their primary income. So what is your new business? How is it structured? Where is show me the money?
Yeah. So we were coming back from an event at the University of Arkansas where we had done a workshop or a keynote on how to lead it like Lasso. And we decided, okay, we've looked around, we've thought about what we want to do. We feel like we've talked with a lot of folks, and we get what young adult students need. So let's start scoping out the app that we want to build, because we both love software and like
Mm-hmm.
development, the challenge, the problem solving of that technology in general. So, um, I had a notebook out and we started writing down. When you write software, you have to write user stories. So the student will log in and X, Y, or Z, right? You have to build it out like that. And Nick said, hold on, I got to run to the restroom real quick. It was right behind my gate. And he came back, 60 seconds and said, um, I think I had a terrible idea. And I said, well, like while you were in the bathroom? And he said, well, you had a terrible idea. And I like, again, while you were in the bathroom? And he said, so when I was writing out the user story, I said, this is like writing one of those business fables. And he said, I think we should write a business fable about the story so that we can explain how someone is going to use the app to help them grow and be successful. So that is what book number 2. We weren't planning on writing book 2. But that was the start of it so that we could, like Nick mentioned, sort of as a lead magnet to get people to understand how this app will help them. So we are building career coach in your pocket type of app.
Love it.
That all the details that I missed.
Go ahead.
No, I think she got them all. I think it's important so Marnie mentioned it's a business fable, and the lead character, Sydney, is a college student who's doing all the right things, but is really having a hard time getting anything out of it, not getting a job or an internship or anything like that. And she runs across this magical mentor who happens to run a business a business called Blue that has an app. So the lead character uses the app in the book. And it was a way for us to create, like Marnie said, the user requirements and actually have the reader see what the app would look like in written form. And again, it not only helped us communicate our message and our framework and how do you stand out in this world that is ever changing, right? Because we believe you have to, right? The whole notion of what career trajectory looks like is so different because we don't even know what the careers are going to be. But what we do know with AI and everything, but what we do know is that it requires human element because AI and automation that's leveling the playing field from traditional skills. It's not nearly as hard to be a computer science major like I was 30 years ago today because people can just learn it, sitting at their desk playing on their phone. So yeah, this whole notion of showing people what this app can do and what it's supposed to do to help you do that self-reflection, figure out what actually motivates you, what drives you, figure out how to interview better, how to build your support network around you. It's really visual through this story. And, we've had a lot of educational systems say, this is something that I want to implement for my students. So we're really excited about that.
As a recovering educator, I agree. There's so much potential, so much that our schools can do or could do. And life has changed. When we first created the concept of public education, we had different needs than we do now. And yet, in many cases, we haven't kept up to speed with it. Back in the 80s, I learned typing on a typewriter, and I'm glad I did. And obviously, that's a useful skill today, but we don't use typewriters any longer. And now kids are learning to type when they're in first grade or something, apparently. So
with their thumbs instead of their all their digits, right? Yeah, absolutely.
Yep. Yeah, it was just their thumbs. Did you ever get sore thumbs? I still once in a while get a sore thumb.
I've definitely adopted from my daughter who's 24 that I will just hit the mic and talk into it. That is the way of the future, I have been told. I have a student doing that in high school. Like, what is she doing? Because I'd hear her in a room talking to herself.
I probably do that 70% of the time, to be fair as well. Are you concerned at all when I love it. First of all, I want to know 13 questions that came up with that one. Sorry. Okay. Try to sort this out. First of all, fables. I love fables. I love business fables a lot. I have one actually like this close to me. but I'm not going to show it yet. What are your favorite business fables? Each.
Well, I'm Nick's I'll let Nick go first because I'm gonna steal the one that he'll say, and then I can pick another one. Go ahead, Nick.
Nick,
I'm gonna leave Patrick Lencioni to Marnie, and I'm gonna go Bob Berg, the Go-Giver.
Okay.
Is my all-time favorite business fable.
And
I could go grab it. It's right there.
what a good show it is. The first one I read was Raving Fans by Ken Blanchard.
Okay.
And then, but Patrick Lencioni, Getting Naked, which you should always Google with his name, is a great one about consulting and really how I ran customer success.
Okay, that was good. Google it with his name. Lencioni is Lens.
Cioni. Yeah.
There we go. Right. And yes, I have multiples of his books over here as well, because like I said, I love it. This was my first book fable.
Oh, email.
The E-Myth. Yeah, I'm showing the book. The E-Myth Revisited was what somebody handed to me so long ago. And what's the copyright in this thing? 1995. It seems older than that. What?
In the 1900s.
It's in the 1900s. So old. But this is revisited. So the original was older.
Was it in 1980 something?
It could be. I don't think it shows the original copyright. I'm looking in the book right now, but it says first edition of Revisited was 95. That's all I see. But yeah, I love parables. Just work. They've always worked. They've been working for thousands of years.
As a matter of fact.
Yeah. The first time I read one, I was like, what is this goofy character, right? Like, we know where this is going, but it is so easy to see the message that, and it's not dry. We knew writing a book for high school and college students who don't read a lot of books, and they're not going to read a book that just says fact, fact, fact. Also, as Nick and I like to quote, storytelling is 22 times more effective than fact telling. So that's true for your fable, and it's true for your resume. So if you can work those two things out, you'll be a better interviewer.
22% only?
22 times more.
22,
not percent.
not percent. X, 22X. Okay. Yeah. So that
makes way more sense, doesn't it?
so my follow-up to that is, were you concerned, since you're writing a fable, to walk people through why and how this app could work? Are you worried that because apps are going to evolve easier and faster, are you concerned at all that the book might lock in or prevent the app development in any way? Am I making sense here?
Yeah, I think I get where you're coming from. I wouldn't say we're concerned about it, because our plan is our plan was with the book to kind of give just a feel for what it can do. So we didn't touch on everything that we want to actually build into the app. So I think we're pretty safe in that regard. I think the reality of it is, it's becoming easier and easier and less expensive to build things these days, right? So is somebody else going to have the idea? That's a risk somebody else going to run with the idea. It's a risk you always take, but I think we've done a good enough job establishing our presence in the space and our thought leadership in the space. It's not what everybody's talking about, although in general it is. There's more focus on, again, acquiring the hard skills, the career and technical skills like automotive or culinary or something like that. We're trying to shift the mindset to say, yeah, that's good, but the reality of it is kids these days coming out of school are really struggling with human interaction, and that has to become a focus in K-12 schools. And you know what? If somebody picks it up and runs with it and is more successful than we are, we have a lot of confidence in ourselves. But you know what? That's a good thing. We've already hit our done our thing. We've sold our company, right? This is something that we just want to see change, and we feel like it needs to be equitable. right? A lot of young people hire college coaches or career coaches, and they're paying thousands of dollars, but the vast majority of people, whether you like it or not, can't afford that. So we want to create something at scale to be able to do that.
I love your heart behind it. It means so much, and it's one of the reasons I really wanted to have you here today. Marnie, I know as we're wrapping up here, personal development, Nick has kind of said is more your thing. I don't want you to give away any secrets. Obviously, anybody can pick up the book and get the ideas. But do you want to give us a little insight on why you're so passionate about personal development? But also, can you give us a little of an idea of what the app will be like or who would benefit from it most?
Well, way before Ted Lasso said it, when I was applying for teaching jobs in 1992, I would say, I feel like it's a teacher's job to help each kid become the best version of themselves. And so that is finding out who the kid is. That is not saying, oh, deep inside you, you're good at calculus. That's only part of who you are, right? A very small part, just a technical skill. So the passion for personal development is when you're a teacher at heart, you are always a teacher at heart, right? Regardless of what job I'm doing, I'm still a teacher. So that's how personal development became a passion, right?
Right.
So the other piece along with the app is, as Nick said, a lot of people are talking about the fact that we need these soft skills. Any employer will say, give me somebody that will show up and work hard. I'll teach them the hard skills. We hear that all the time. Like literally, you could just drop high school and say, all right, all you have to do is show up and work hard all day, and this company is going to hire you. We're hearing that. But the tricky thing about, when you look at the technical pieces they're teaching in school, everyone can say, what do you learn in school? Math, English, social studies, science. Anyone on the street can tell you that. If I said right now, what are the character skills you need for work? They will give some combo platter of empathy, listening, communication, collaboration, or creativity. There's no framework for that. I mean, there is around emotional intelligence, but it is just a listing of skills. So what we did in the business of you is you are the CEO of You Incorporated, but you also then have the responsibility for all the other departments. And so what we've done is connected the soft skills with how that impacts a portion of your life. So you are the head of HR. You've got to understand who you are at the core. You are in charge of marketing. How are you selling yourselves online? Yeah, take that comment off of Facebook. It's not good for anybody, right? We love talking about how you are the chief financial officer of your life, not just for finance in terms of money, but how are you investing your time? Would you invest in you, and would you invest in your habits? So the app walks through gamification. So let's play some games to figure out your core values. And now that we know your core values, what's your tagline? We're going to help you with that. And where we've worked with so many people is when they realize that their core values have unlocked their superpower, they're way better at interviewing for jobs, writing their resume, writing a cover letter, writing a college essay, etc. So that's a piece of how we help. And then Nick mentioned the other components in terms of connecting with mentors and building a personal board of advisors, because no one has to do it alone. So those are the first two that come to mind. Nick, were you hoping I would say another piece?
No, as always, you nailed it. The one piece maybe I will add is, we also talk about every business has a learning and development, not every, but most businesses have a learning and development group, which is all about acquiring new skills. But, we talk about the difference between a values ladder and a credentials ladder. And most people these days work on building that credentials ladder, right? I got this certification or this degree or this GPA or what have you. We want to flip that a little bit on its head, and we're trying to introduce with the app is to help you identify acquiring skills that add value to other people. That goes back to Bob Bird's The Go-Giver, right? What kind of value can I give to other people? Because I don't think young people especially think about it in that regard. And I have a 21-year-old at my house that was so focused on, I need this certification, I need this master's degree, I need, I need this X, Y, and Z. but not really thinking about, okay, is the skill that I'm actually learning adding value? Am I putting the time in to see what kind of value it's adding to the company that I'm applying for, or the person that I'm working with? And that's something that we talk a lot about in the book, and it's going to flow through into the app in terms of challenging people as they identify their core values and what that can mean for the people that they surround themselves with.
Well, I hope that this app will be available to more than just high school students, because it seems like maybe, and this is touching back on what you said about AI, there may or may not be a few no longer high school student adults that also need to take a look at, who am I? I mean, let's go talk about my burned out professionals. They got into, like we did, teaching before our frontal cortex was fully developed. This is true.
Yeah.
As is true for, most college graduates. You get a degree, and why are you getting that degree? Because you'll make the money, because you want to tick off your parents, because you want to, or because you want to please your parents. I mean, those are really probably the three reasons I can think of that a 20-year-old gets whatever degree. Make mom mad, make dad happy, or make some money. I don't know. Maybe there's other factors. I just came up with that right here, right now. I might run with that on another show. But yeah, could you see this app being applicable to more than just high school, college age?
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And as a matter of fact, the as we started to get feedback on the book, I think I wouldn't say we were surprised, but I think a lot of the feedback that we've gotten is, okay, I took a look at this book for my kid, but I can't believe how much of it applies to what I'm doing today. So,
Well, sequel?
well, we've talked about, okay, the business of you for college graduates versus the business of you for career changers versus even the business for you for moms and dads and things like that. So we definitely see that we can switch up the story, because it is a story written about a student at this point in time. Doesn't mean you can't draw out of it if you're not a student, but I think it helps if potentially, we reframe the story in an environment that is more relatable to the person that, the burnt out professional, right? Something to that effect. So
I feel like I could keep talking to you both for hours. This is so much fun, and I'm way excited to see this app get released. I definitely am going to be reading your book and probably sharing it with a few people as well. I'm thrilled that you're here. For listeners, just scroll down, look down below here. All the contact information you need is right there, whether you're on YouTube or any other platform. Go check it out. Available on Amazon, I'm assuming.
Yeah. Barnes and Noble online, etc.
Noble online, everywhere. So, if you love business fables, this is one that, hey, add it to your collection of business fables, because they are truly the easiest to read. My husband does a lot of hiring, and one of the questions he asks everybody who comes through is, "What is the last book you read?"
Mm-hmm.
And in many cases, it was, well, I haven't read one since high school.
Oh.
And but to be clear, the follow-up question is, what podcasts or video channels do you watch for educational purposes? Because that is the way that many people are educating themselves instead. There is a Barnes and Noble near me, yay, still, but we know a lot of bookstores have gone out lately. I like my books. And in fact, one more thing, let's talk about going non-digital. And using our brains a little bit more. I just switched to a paper planner again.
Oh,
yeah.
And, it's just what's that?
A paper planner girl.
I've never done it. But I realized that just being on my phone all the time for everything, I really wasn't always hitting the marks on the things that meant the most to me. And like you said, Marnie, we're not just one thing. Recently, I re-engaged in martial arts. I've been saying for years, I'm going to get my second degree. Well, now I have a date.
Right.
And I'm there 2 to 3 times a week, and now it gives me a reason to go to the gym and do the weight workout. And I picked up crocheting instead of playing video games. I mean, this sounds like oh, old lady, but getting your brain.
The grandma skills are good for your mental health. I'm a knitter, so those land in my feed.
Yeah, my oldest daughter is the one who picked up crochet first, and I was like, you know what? I'll do it with you. I just need something my hands do want to stay busy. I think that's human nature, but it doesn't have to be on a phone. And there's so many other things you can do while you crochet, like listen to a great podcast.
Yeah,
So,
absolutely.
any last bit any last bit of advice for people who are on the fence? They're not sure if they should really jump into entrepreneurship or not. What do you say? Nick, you first.
I would say it's not for everybody. Honestly, it is not. I don't think you should go in with it saying, okay, yeah, I work hard, I'm going to get it done. You have to be willing to take risks. You have to develop resilience. And I think if you've never really had the opportunity to develop resilience, go find a way to do that first. Take on things that are less risky, right? That you will fail at, and you will have to overcome things, because as an entrepreneur, I think one of the top skills is being able to be resilient and adaptable, and to change course in a way that's in alignment with your vision, for sure. But that's what I would recommend, is that people try to develop those resilience skills.
Excellent.
On the same line, I always think financially, what is your backup plan, right? Have a plan and then have a backup plan. So, the family conversation is worst case scenario. Mom will always pick up another job waitressing, right? I got waitress in college. I loved it. I'll do it again. So the kids know Christmas is going to be light if mom's up to waitressing, because that means it's getting hard. But if you have a plan, it makes it slightly less risky. So we discussed that before we started the business of what is our risk tolerance. So I very much agree with what Nick said.
Good. Well, when I run my transcripts through AI, because I do, resilience has ended up being one of the hashtags on, I think, every single show except one.
Interesting.
Resilience is what comes up, like Nick said.
At the end there.
What's that? Yeah.
I know, right? Right under the bell.
Yeah. We'll see if the AI picks up on it this time, but I think we've said it enough times now. Note to AI, picked this up. And I think you have to be willing. At one point, my husband and I, even while running our business, my husband and I were driving Uber. We had payroll to make, or we had something to do, and something had come up, and we drove Uber. Fortunately, it was during the Super Bowl in Minnesota, and that was super fun. And I got to wear a couple rings.
Oh, that's very cool.
Really, really, really big rings. Let me just say.
So cool. That's awesome. That's a great story.
It's a fun story. So thank you. Thank you, Marnie. Thank you, Nick. This was so much fun. Let's do it again.
Well,
our pleasure. Thanks, Leanne.
And Rabbit, because I was so distracted, I did not pull up my end notes. Here, I'm going to make you sit through my outro.
Okay.
We're good?
Yeah, hold on 1 sec while I find it. Really, this was so much fun. Okay, Rabbit. And thanks to our audience for joining us on Beyond the Business Plan to Unleash Your Joyful Business Potential. Remember, entrepreneurship is a voyage you can take with others, so find your tribe for the journey and maybe pick up a really great book that might, send you down the right path. Give us a like or subscribe or whatever you do on your favorite podcast or video platform to keep shining and aligning with your purpose and Joyminder Solutions. And come on back next week for our next episode. Until then, I am Leanne Lyon, your Chief Joy Officer, signing off. Keep spreading the joy, keep leading with heart, and I'll catch you on the next wave of success. Hey, sales setters, do you need energy without the crash? Check out the lifestyle section in our resources on joyminder.com/resources for delicious, healthier coffee alternatives to boost your focus and fuel your hustle. Skip the jitters, love your brew. You can also go directly to whyilovemycoffee.com, and I'll see you there. Thank you for sailing with me on today's Beyond the Business Plan podcast. If this episode helped you as a sales setter, the best next step is to follow the show and share it with one friend who's ready to move beyond burnout into a more joyful, aligned way of doing business in life. To see where you are in the sailing journey and get your next right steps, download the free Sailing System Guide at joyminder.com. And if you're exploring real estate investing or private money lending, you can also learn about working with me at lioncapitallllc.com. Until next time, keep setting your course and adjusting your sails beyond the business plan.